Alright, come in. Hello, hello, hello. Alright, so you guys are gonna get started on your bell ringer. It's already laid out for you, so go ahead and get started with that individually. Take your time, it's not a race.
Like more than?
No, you're fine, just a yes or it's not a yes or no. It's an either or. So it's primary or secondary.
Oh, I thought you said
It's
like
not yes
primary.
or no.
I was only reading this
No.
part.
It is. You have to actually write out the words, guys. Take your time, there's no need to rush. Is everybody all done? Yes? Are we done, girls? Yes? Okay. It doesn't matter, it's a bell ringer, okay? Alright, so the first question on the bell ringer was, Caesar, can you go ahead and read it?
Is an autobiography a primary or secondary source?
Okay, and what did you answer?
Secondary.
Do you know why?
Because an autobiography is a person writing about another person. Right? Okay, like something like that.
Does anybody get a different answer? Giselle?
Primary.
Primary, okay. Why did you choose a primary source?
Because it comes straight from the person.
Correct. That is correct. And it's on autobiographies when a person writes a story about their own life.
I thought it was biography.
It's alright, alright. Emily, can you read the second question?
Is a speech a primary or secondary source?
What did you say it was?
Primary,
A primary source. Good job. Can you explain why?
because it's the original speech.
Here's the original speech.
It's not like written out differently. I guess.
It's
I don't
not
know.
someone else
Yeah.
saying it.
Okay, okay. So it's like it's the original speech. Is what you're trying to say. So it's fun. Okay, alright. So can you finish the bell ringer out for us?
Is a history textbook a primary or secondary source?
Okay. Did anybody else get something different? No, you guys all said secondary? Okay, tell me why.
Because a history textbook is something that someone else wrote off of the original copy.
That's correct. Yeah, I was just making sure. Okay, so, let me get your bell ringer collected in. Okay. So now in class, we are gonna go over what the difference, we're gonna go more in depth about what the difference between a primary and a secondary source is, okay? So, like how I said in the bell ringer, a primary source is going to be something original, right? So take the speech from Martin Luther King Jr., right? Like his speech, his actual paper that he wrote out, right, would be a primary source, okay? But someone writing about his speech would be a secondary source, right? Okay, so we have to always remember that secondary source is the difference between them, the big difference between them is that the secondary source is interpretation of the first one, okay? So you're taking that information from the primary source, right? changing it up, adding some details, right? You're kind of summarizing it or putting it in your own words, right? And you're making it into a secondary source, okay? So that would be examples of a secondary source would be something like what? Think of something?
Textbook.
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 What else would be a secondary source?
If another student like wrote out a little short summary about what a book was.
Okay, that could work. Emily, do you have an example? Huh?
Newspaper.
No, a newspaper would actually be a primary source. I would hope the cameraman would stop helping you because he's leading you down the wrong path. Newspaper is actually a primary source. Do you know why though? Why it's not a secondary source and why it's a primary source?
No.
Take a guess. Why isn't it not a primary source? Or why is it a primary source and not a secondary source? Sorry. Think about it. The news is about what? The newspaper gives us information about what? Giselle, help her out?
Something that actually happened.
Okay, the difference is there. It's like it's not about what actually happened. It's something recent, or not recent, I mean to say, a newspaper records is the original source, okay? So like when they do the interview on somebody, right, that witnessed a car accident, they're eyewitnesses, they're original sources because they saw the car crash, okay? A primary source could be a witness watching a car crash. Another primary source could be someone who was in the car crash because they felt it, they were there, okay? So if you were...
And someone who caused it?
Hmm?
And someone who caused it?
Yeah, right, because they're still part of the primary source. So it also means like if you were there to watch Michael Jordan dunk a basketball, right, and it was his 500th one, right, you were there to witness it. Your primary source to the 500th Michael Jordan dunk. Okay, you guys understand that? Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, a secondary source would be me telling my friend that this was Michael Jordan's 500th dunk, and then him going off and telling somebody else. He would be the secondary source, relaying what I said. Okay? Okay? So that's where it loses its originality. Okay? Alright. You would kind of understand the difference?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so you guys give me an example of a primary source. An actual one, like maybe the one that you've seen.
The news.
The news, okay. You just copied off my example. Okay. Anybody else?
Fire.
A fire?
Oh, a fire that one of my cousins worked in. And they bring all their things.
See, you'd be the secondary source
Uh-huh.
because it was your cousin, right? So your cousin would be the primary source of that information. You're actually the secondary source. So that's a pretty good example for that.
And they were also on TV. I didn't know.
Huh?
And they were actually on TV.
Alright, so that would be the primary source. Alright? The interviewing the first primary person, you know. Okay. Alright, so what are some things that they share in common? Does anybody wanna give me an example? Or maybe wanna take a guess at what they think they share in common?
They're both about the same information, but they're just wrote in different ways.
Okay.
Or explained in different ways. Yeah.
Right, okay.
It's the same story.
It's talking about the same thing.
Right. That's something that they share in common. That's definitely something they have the same. How about they're both sources of information? Okay. They're both sources of information, they just come from different points. Okay. Primary source will come from someone that was there to witness it, someone that was there to observe it, you know, or wrote it down right when it happened. Right? Okay. Does anybody want to give me an example of never mind. Okay, so let's just go over, right before I send you guys off into your assignment, let's go over the definition again one more time of a primary source and a secondary source. Right, and I'll send you guys off into your assignments. Okay? So, word by word definition is information that provides first-hand accounts of events, practices, or conditions. Okay? So, person that was there to witness it. We talked about speeches. It could be from the news. It could be being involved in it. It could be artifacts. It could be diaries. It can be anything of that sort. Right? And the secondary source would be is information created later, okay, by someone who did not experience it firsthand, okay, or conditions something somebody is researching, right? An example of this would be maybe a book about Chicago, right? They're writing about information about Chicago, but Chicago's already been built. It's still going. So if they were talking about present day Chicago right now, okay, then it would be a primary source. But if they were talking about the 1950s, Chicago in the 1950s, then it would turn into a secondary source. All right, everybody understand that? Okay. So I'm gonna hand out a sheet of paper. We're gonna work on this up just until the bell. Okay. Okay, what you guys are gonna be doing? You guys are gonna be creating a Venn diagram. Okay. The Venn diagram, primaries and secondary on one side, and in the middle, you're gonna be listing examples of the same or definitions of some information that you can write down in the middle. Okay. Well, if you guys don't finish this today, it'll come back to be homework. Okay, so what I want you guys to do is I want you guys to go on your computers. Okay, I want you to look up your own. I want you to look up and find a definition of primary and secondary source. Not now. Not now. Okay. Okay, I want you to find the definitions, and I want you to give a list. I want you to list the differences. How is a primary different than a secondary? Okay, give yourself a good list because this is something that you could use for the quiz, right? And then I want you guys to list examples, okay? Not just textbook or speech. I want you to find ones, okay? Actual names. So the MLK speech, right? You can't use that, okay? You can't use newspaper or news, okay? Find actual news from today and find the title and write it down, okay? Give yourself actual examples, all right? Yes? Alright, let's begin. You guys can now put up your Chromebooks and your computers. Is it there? Pretend it's a computer. Not everybody here has a computer.
I want to pass it on that big thing.
Oh. What about the Holocaust, though? What do you mean, Holocaust? Okay, that's an event that happened. Yeah. Okay, Holocaust. Everybody can. Not everybody. People survived the Holocaust, buddy. Yeah, not everybody. Not everybody died during that. Okay, so Holocaust, what? It had to be like a.
Wait, I got one. Because
No,
I
you're not understanding.
read a book
A
on
Holocaust meaning you can't just Holocaust is an event. This isn't like a source though. Okay? It's gotta be like like if you were interviewing a Holocaust victim, it'd be a primary source. But if this was like not a website, you're not understanding it, easy. Okay? Holocaust, what is it called? Article. Sure, yeah. A Holocaust article, it could be a word.
A link or URL, what do you want?
No, it could like article, a journal, no, not a journal, but it could be someone describing,
Like a
like
personal
someone
account?
from today. You can find, you can look up and then an article about the Holocaust right now. Okay, so on your computer, you wanna look it up. You wanna find an article from the not from the Holocaust, but an article that someone written today about Holocaust effects today. The effects of the Holocaust today.
Oh, no.
Okay. So you're starting it up.
Alright.
I'm gonna go to you. What do you got? Okay. Remember, you guys want to have the definition first. Okay. So first, look up the definition. Can you get in? Okay. So you guys want to first look up the definition and write your own definition down. Okay. Read it, understand it. I'm gonna check the time. You use copy and pasting though.
I'll send this one.
You okay?
You okay? Hello.
Definition?
Are you gonna understand that definition though? As a sixth grade girl?
Yes.
Remember, you wanna find the definition first, you wanna write down the definition. What is that supposed to mean?
That's what I got.
Ask question.
If you are stuck, ask a question. If you are not understanding something, ask a question. Do you have a question?
I can't remember.
You can't remember? Okay, let me know when you find it.
Wait, we're supposed to write the definition first?
Yes, you should try to put the definition at the top of your Venn diagram so that you know. So section it out being definitions at the top, right? So you have your Venn diagram, you have your definitions at the top, at the very top, secondary, primary on top, right? And then you have definitions just under inside the circle, and then you list the differences. How are they different from each other, right? And then you go into your list of actual examples. That's what you're going to do online. You're gonna find like articles from or journals from 1940, and you're gonna give that as an example. And then secondary, you're gonna be finding textbooks and stuff. Okay? It's not what I'm looking for. Okay? I'm looking for actual names. Look up actual, what pictures of what artifacts. What exact artifacts are. I want detailed examples. You guys. Okay, you're running out of room here, Caesar, so you gotta really try to condense your work. Okay, We have plenty of time. We have about 15 to 10 minutes left. Nice. Good job, Emily. What is it, sir? Okay, good. I'll be collecting this tomorrow. We've not finished it through today, okay? Look up the definitions, Lisa. Look up what is secondary sources. Picture of what artifacts. Okay, so you got a picture of okay. Yes, that is a primary source. I'm looking for more of primary sources of find a journal from the Holocaust and write that down. Write the title of that journal down. Not just journal of night. What is that?
I'm writing something.
What is it?
A first-hand account of Auschwitz.
What is it?
Eli Wiesel.
Partisan dollar. Look it up for me too. Focus, Emily.
He's dead now.
So is he someone who's writing about it because he survived through it?
He survived.
Oh, so he's a survivor.
Yes.
Interesting.
There you go.
Do you mind? It's okay. So continue finding more examples. Okay. And then you want to find examples, actual examples of the secondary source. Are you struggling on the definition?
Yes.
Okay. So, what do you have? You're looking at secondary source. Okay. Okay. So this is somebody. A definition of this could be someone. It could be a recording / document. It is something you could write down. A recording / document. That comes from the original information. Okay. So in parentheses you can write doesn't come from someone who was there. Okay. Someone else wrote it. Okay. Phrase that however you want. So recording or document of information originally. So information that comes from somewhere else. Okay. What are you doing, Emily? Are we staying on topic?
Yeah.
Okay. Our ability to use our computers during class is a reward. And it could be something that could be taken away, alright?
Exactly.
Yeah, you might want to just list some differences between them. Okay. I'm gonna check the time. So we're coming down to like the last 10 minutes, guys. Hmm?
You have to write the definition.
Yes.
It's the easiest part.
It's the hardest part for me.
Look it up.
I did.
Hey, knock it off. If it was easy for you, relax. Then maybe it's not so easy for her. Okay, so the definition, did you find both definitions out?
No,
No, which one are you on?
I still didn't do primary.
So did you finish secondary then?
No.
No? So, remember when we were I was just talking to you about, it's a recording that comes from, a recording that doesn't come from the original source, okay? So it's basically like a copy from the original source, someone is it's a summary of something, okay? It doesn't come from the original source, it's not an eyewitness person. And then the primary could say, you ready for the primary? You ready for the primary definition? Okay. So a primary source is information that comes from someone who witnessed it firsthand, witnessed an event, practice, was
Can I
doing
write
the
it here?
research. Yes. If it doesn't fit in your circle, go ahead. Doesn't have to look pretty, guys. Just gotta have all the information. Okay. Did you list the differences? I see you have examples, but I don't see you having differences between them. So everybody has the definitions?
No.
Yes? Alright, does everybody have differences between them?
Yes.
Okay, so
I don't have
characteristics of the
any.
differences. So what separates them? That's when you wanna kinda give examples of, like, just saying it's speech, like this one is a speech. For a primary source, that could be different, like a speech of someone who was there that day of a speech. These are your last warning on please stay on task. So your Venn diagram's a little messy here, so you're gonna have to walk me through it.
So we got this website, this article.
What is that?
It's about the Holocaust.
Yes. How is that a secondary source?
Because the person is writing about the Holocaust, but they weren't there.
Okay.
And then this is a.
What are we in? Oh, is that your
That's my,
explaining paint, and then down here, what do you have?
that's the definition.
Oh, you read the definition at the bottom, okay. Okay, it's supposed to be a list, so you got like 3 more examples if you can. Let's make it a list, alright?
I got you.
What about for your primary sources, what do you got?
Power sources. So I got this picture of Martin Luther King. I got this autobiography. Right, yeah, autobiography. Eli. By Eli, or Elie Wiesel.
Okay, and that's the man who
Survived.
survived, went through the Holocaust, so yeah, he was an actual victim of it, okay?
Yeah.
That is a primary source, good job, and then what do you have in the middle?
And this is like an essay, so like for an essay you have to write about it yourself, but you can have quotes, little context quotes, or like autobiography and stuff.
Okay. You can also fill in that they have both sources of information. Okay, because a primary source is still a source of information, so is a secondary. No, in the middle. That's where you put what's in the same. You just cross those out.
This is differences and similarities, differences and similarities.
No, differences, similarities. That's what a Venn diagram is for.
I want to make a list.
Okay.
It's easy for me.
Alright, make sure you put them in the middle. Okay, this is something you need to turn in, and if I see that, I have to mark it down wrong. For what? Which one? For what? Where's your? What are you talking about? Which one? We're still standing, and that's a primary source of. How is that a primary source? I don't understand. So primary source, what is it about? So it talks about 9/11. Was she there? Because then it would be a primary source. Otherwise, but hey, if she's talking about 9/11 but wasn't there, okay, then it's a secondary example, right?
Mm-hmm.
So last 5 minutes,